First of all, I think most of the people who are not vaccinated understand perfectly well that our individual freedoms have to be limited in all kinds of ways because of our collective security, because of our need to survive as communities. Let me give you examples. Many of the people opposing vaccination because they're angry that it limits their freedom or is government intrusion or government overreach are perfectly comfortable with a traffic light. Let me remind you, a traffic light is when the government says to you, if you go through this traffic intersection when there's a red light, we're going to ticket you or arrest you because that endangers all of us trying to get through that intersection. People understand it perfectly well. We understand it likewise when a private entity, a building, for example, says there can be no smoking in the building because secondary smoke has been shown to cause cancer, etc., etc., etc. We have accepted that. We say you cannot drive a car at all unless you have a government-mandated license because we don't want to take the risk to ourselves, our families, of people driving who don't know how to do that and haven't qualified in terms of getting a license. Let me give you another example. When we get sick and we visit a doctor or are treated by a nurse, we need to know that it's safe to be treated by that person. So we have mandated all kinds of tests and qualifications individuals have to satisfy before they can be a nurse, a doctor, a practitioner of a whole variety of medical interventions. And everybody understands that. The vast majority of those opposed to vaccines understand it. So what's going on? Well, there's an anger about government mandates, governments telling you what to do. And part of that is perfectly rational. We have come to learn, and I'm going to give you examples in a moment, that corporations are continuously using the government to push something that's profitable for them, whether or not it's healthy or safe or good for us. So being suspicious about government mandates is perfectly reasonable. Ditto, being suspicious about Big Pharma, drug companies. We have thousands of examples of drug companies making claims for drugs that aren't valid, pushing medicines that haven't been actually tested properly. I think much of the opposition to vaccination is rational, but I think the response to those suspicions, that's irrational, because the way to react to this problem is not to forgo the vaccination that can save your life and that can make you less of a danger to the people closest to you and to the community in which you live. The suspicion, the action, the reaction to the whole story is perfectly understandable and reasonable. And we should be very suspicious of the politicians who get up on the high horse and pander to this kind of craziness. That's sort of like the QAnon folks telling us it's a great conspiracy from outer space. So are we suspicious of government mandates and corporations cooperating? Of course we are, and we have every reason to be. I won't remind you of what the cigarette companies knew and did nothing about for decades. I won't remind you of the struggle around the world that mothers had with babies as they thought about breastfeeding versus formula. And a big formula producer, the Nestle company, made sure that was a big debate, even though we now know, and we knew then scientifically, that breast milk is infinitely superior. Okay, money dominates political discourse in our culture. We shouldn't be surprised, but we should understand that if we're confronted with a crisis like COVID-19, we have to wonder not about whether we ought to do something, but whether what's mandated on us comes out of something we're happy with or unhappy with. The government didn't do it right. It should have come slowly and had a proper conversation and brought the scientists to the fore. The scientists might agree, but at least they're fighting it out over what's best for our health. The minute you allow private capitalism in there, you got a whole nother objective. Make money, make money. Have one shot, have two shots, have three shots. You can see what's going on. So let's think about a better way to organize a society, something we talk about on this program a lot, because in the end, that's the only way to get out of this disaster in which we have a social crisis. We're absolutely justified in being suspicious of the government and private corporations, but we end up shooting ourselves in the foot. I'm reminded of the British, angry about what was going on, and yet voting for Brexit, as if leaving Europe is going to solve the problem of a capitalist system that is hanging you up.